Son, torture these rats. For the love of God, don't become a fucking techno musician. Whatever you do.
Or a vegan.
Hello and welcome to another episode of 1001 Album Complaints. It's the show where lifelong friends, musicians, and serial complainers get together to tell the stories of the most influential albums of all time from the list of the 1001 albums you must hear before you die. We're going to take a deep dive into the background of an artist and tackle a single album from them and break it down musically, culturally, electronically. Then, at the end of this journey, we're going to vote on whether you actually need to hear this album before you die, and then we'll randomly select next week's album. Now, if you're a returning listener, welcome back. But if you're new to the podcast, I want to prepare you a bit for what's in store. We are going to poke fun at today's artist and album. I am certain of it. But remember, we're all musicians. We know just how hard it is to write, record, produce music. So everything that follows comes from a place of love and respect. But as music obsessives, we absolutely love nitpicking and complaining about the thing we love most, and that is music. So buckle up. You've been warned. Now this week, I want to start with a quote. Here it comes. I didn't want to go to straight white clubs where the people I grew up with drank Rolling Rocks and made cautious and ironic comments about New Yorker articles and pavement records. I wanted to be on a dance floor surrounded by black and Latino and gay people, getting lost in the euphoria when that perfect record comes on. That is, of course, a quote from our very own co-host, Tom, but no.
That is actually way true. Gay clubs are fucking awesome. I don't know if you guys have ever gone to a gay club. They're fucking great.
Yes, seems everyone's happy.
I'm, of course, talking about Moby. Yes, my name is Adam. I've been playing music for 30 years, played professionally for a decade, and we're talking about the 1999 release Play by the musician Moby. So let's drop in a little clip of the opening track off this album. This is a song called Honey.
Can my honey come back? Sometime I'm on a red back jack. Sometime I get a hump in my back. Sometime I'm going over here. Sometime can my honey come back? Sometime I'm on a red back jack. Sometime I get a hump in my back. Sometime I'm going over here. Sometime can my honey come back? Sometime I'm on a red back jack. Sometime I get a hump in my back. Sometime I'm going over here. Sometime can my honey come back? Sometime I'm on a red back jack. Sometime I get a hump in my back. Sometime I'm going over here. Sometime can my honey come back? Sometime I'm on a red back jack. Sometime I get a hump in my back.
All right, now that we've got a taste of what we've been listening to this week, we're going to throw it around the studio today for our crew introductions by way of a mean tweet about this album. So today I'm going to throw it over to Marty first.
Thank you, Adam. I'm excited to do my first mean tweet of 2026.
Oh, yeah, nice.
Hopefully it's an early banger. And here it goes. Do they call him Moby because he looks like a literal dick? Or is it more of an ironic nickname because he's also a huge pussy?
Oh my God, we've already peaked.
Bringing it early. We're going to close it out tonight. Thank you, everyone. All right, we're going to throw it over to Alan next.
Oh man, thanks, Adam. This album was a great choice for this list. You could even say it's the choice of a new generation. I'm glad Moby obeyed his thirst and had the guts to just do it. As for the music, I'm loving it, especially when I'm cruising in my ultimate driving machine. It's easy, breezy, beautiful.
Dude, that is so good. That will make a lot more sense.
That was my less pithy version of what I wanted to say, which was, ooh, Lottie, this album sucks.
Oh, nice and nice.
All right, we're going to throw it over to Tom next.
Thank you, Adam. You know, on Play, Moby proves that he is constantly innovating and creating new and exciting ways to steal black music. I have an alternate one that I can throw in there. which is, I'm going to paraphrase something. My dad used to say this to me when I was young. He used to say, Tom, you're my son. I have to love you. It doesn't mean I have to like you. And Moby, I might like some of your songs, but it doesn't mean I have to respect you.
I'm going to push back on that. Your dad definitely does not have to love you.
You know, that was his version of being a good dad. He's like, I don't like you as a human, but I still am forced to love you.
But I am legally obliged.
Going to fulfill my obligation.
Oh, that is awesome. Well, hopefully I can change your minds a bit. But anyway, this is Adam, and my tweet is Moby, as cool and culturally relevant as the Floby. And now I'm wondering if any of our UK listeners know what a Floby is.
I'm wondering if any of these guys know what a Floby is. You guys ever get a Floby haircut?
I never got one, but I remember the commercials.
I've seen Wayne's World.
Yes. Okay.
I wonder if any of Moby's songs were licensed for Floby commercials is the true question. So we'll find out.
If those things were still around in 99, then I'd be a little shocked.
Yeah,
But
something tells me he wasn't too precious about who was able to use his songs.
It does have like a prescription drug commercial quality to it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, so we just worked through our tweets there, but now I'm interested in your general impressions. Have you guys listened to Moby before? Had you burned through an album? How was your week?
I have obviously heard of him. I've heard of this album, and the only thing I knew about it, well, it turned out I knew a bunch of the songs that I wasn't sure were his.
They're not his.
True. Good point.
Yeah.
I did know this for being iconic for how much it sold out, and I'm not even mad about that part, though, although we'll get into some of that, I'm sure. So I knew of him, I knew of the album, and I gotta say, my instinct is to go with the negatives, and we're gonna do that, and we'll probably spend 90% of the time on that. I'll start with a few positives, though, just to start off on a good foot. I did find parts of this more listenable than I expected, more listenable than probably a lot of electronic music maybe of that day, although I do gravitate towards more of the groove-oriented, like down-tempo side of this stuff. Mm-hmm. I liked the aesthetic, again, in parts, you know, not all of it, certainly sort of simple and minimal. And I do like the story of how he put this together, and I won't preempt your story, Adam. You know, so there were a few things I like about this. Now let's rip this album to shreds.
You know, I have like kind of one overarching kind of comment about it. We've had a lot of like sample based discussions on here, right? Like the Dust Brothers, for example. Mm-hmm. And kind of what makes them special is they're able to kind of curate this kind of special collection of samples that they have access to. And usually they'll just use little tiny snippets of it to kind of build this like picture on an empty canvas. I feel like Moby takes, his samples are long.
Yeah.
They're like extra, they're like almost like, some of them are like 15 seconds long, and it's like, just doesn't feel right to me.
When he stretches them from wall to wall.
Yeah, exactly.
There's no discernment. It's just like...
Exactly. It feels more like a direct copyright violation than other sample-based bands that we've listened to, you know?
The Dust Brothers are a great example. They use samples like an instrument. Mm-hmm. They are using it in a way that creates something genuinely new, and I feel like Moby uses samples like a gimmick. And he's just like, what would this sound like with a boom cha cha boom cha cha underneath it? And you're like, I don't know, it kind of sounds like the original song with a shitty drum beat underneath it. Like, what do you want me to say?
Exactly. There's like almost two components to his song, a sample and then like a break beat. And it's like, and if you evaluate either one independently, you're like, neither of them are great. You know?
Yeah.
No, it's true. I felt that way as well. I kept finding myself, once a song would start, and to be clear, I'm talking about like the first half of the record, because this is two records,
yes,
in my opinion. And I'd find myself feeling in maybe the first like 10 seconds of one of these songs thinking, okay, this is a little hip. This has a nice vibe and aesthetic. But then that same formula kept kicking in, wall-to-wall sample from literally beginning to end. Like some of these songs, the vocal sample starts on the one. And you don't even let it breathe or anything. And then it's sort of a little trap beat, kind of break beat. And I'm going to build intensity by just adding more synth instead of using dynamics.
Yep.
And thinking about the pacing of the songs. Maybe that's just not how this music was back then, so maybe I'm asking a little too much of it, but yeah, the formula became very apparent pretty quickly.
Well, you want to talk about the formula. That's the even more unforgivable part of the formula. It's not the beginning, because the formula is basically start with a sample, almost in space, 2 bars of that, come in with a drum beat. You do that, and then about 2/3 of the way through the song, you change the underlying synth chords that you've put under that sample, and then you cut it back out to just the sample again for 2 bars, and then everything kicks back in again for the sample. So he does it so many times. I'm just
Yeah.
like, dude, come on, man. Like, be a little bit more creative. I get it. You have good taste in music. I'm not going to fault this man's taste in music. I'm going to fault what he does with that taste in music. And in every song, there's a point where I'm like, oh, that was the end of the song. Okay, that's about there. And then, no, it's not the end of the song.
Comes back in. I feel like I had to pull myself back in the same way, which is the timing is kind of funny because we recently did that Chic episode where we talked about this is dance music. They weren't writing ballads. They weren't doing it for the lyrics. The whole point of it was to get into a club and have something funky and you go at it. And so I tried to kind of reframe my thought around this album in that aspect of saying this is dance music. It's the equivalent of modern disco. So I can't necessarily hold it up to the standard of the musicality of a Steely Dan or the lyrics of Somebody Who Matters, right? So that was the way I approached the week about halfway through after I got into researching this a bit more.
Well, I got even more annoyed when I started thinking of it from the standpoint of dance music, because where's the fucking bass? Where's the low end? There's no low end on this album. When there is bass, it is clearly played by him. It sounds like it's a small one of those micro basses, the short scales.
Hey, short scale bass is good. Don't diss that.
I like short scales, but they're not exactly bringing the thump. And like, where is the thump on this album? If you play this in your car with your big ghetto 90s speakers that are going to rattle your license plate, there'd be nothing going on there. They wouldn't be doing anything.
I think my issue with the dance music, clearly it's dance music. I mean, that's what he came up doing. That's where this is supposed to flourish, is when you want to sort of move your body a little bit. But even there, again, like the use of, I've used this analogy before, but it's sort of like a salt or like a spice where if you have to use it in small amounts and you have to use it in the right places, but if you dump the entire jar of salt into the stew, it's going to taste terrible. And even if I were vibing out to dance music in a club, if I had to hear "Tell my honey come back sometimes," like throughout the entire song, I'd be like, dude, there's not enough like Molly in this place to keep me interested in this.
It's funny because, this is the first time I've actually listened to Moby. It's one of those like preemptive hatred that I've had for someone without ever listening to them, and I'm like, okay, in a way, it's valid.
When that first song, Honey, started, about 40 seconds in, I was like, am I going to like Moby? And then by the end of the song, I was like, no, I'm not going to like Moby.
No, I'm safe. I'm in a safe space.
That's what I'm saying. I had a similar thought where I think some of these are decent songs, very underworked for sure. But there were times where I felt like it's an aesthetic that I think is kind of hip and kind of cool that blends this retro sound with something that's a little bit new and forward thinking. And it's the kind of thing that when it comes to this kind of music, which to state the obvious is not my preferred genre, again, it's where I tend to gravitate to. Him not doing anything with it beyond creating a little bit of a vibe is just what rankled me a little bit, I think.
Right. I'm just going to guess that in this story that Adam tells us, that his popularity was kind of a grassroots effort from playing live and getting support through a live show.
For the most part, with a little bit of a record scratch in the middle of his career, which we'll get into.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
Random punk music phase.
Adam, I have a question for you. And I will fully admit that I did not research this myself, and I'm curious if you researched it. On Wikipedia, they give exactly 5 sample credits. What was the sampling criteria and the how did they give credit for those samples? Because that song, Why Does My Heart Feel So Bad? They do not credit that officially on Wikipedia, at least, as a sample. And if that guy who sang the thing that is that song isn't getting a dime from the tons of copies that this sold, that's just disgusting to me. I don't understand where.
Yeah, he probably researched the estate to see how much he could get away with,
I didn't find a ton on how the licensing of the songs that he used worked. I hit a little bit of AI had some thoughts on it as well, but I wasn't able to find anything definitive. Because you're right. I mean, some of these, I know there's other things going on in there that don't feel like they're credited on the liner notes. You know what I mean?
There's just no way that you can credibly listen to this album and be like, yeah, that's 5 samples worth of credit. Yeah.
That was just 5, right?
I do wonder, this is total uninformed speculation or theory, but some of the real old spiritual gospel things, didn't those come from a compilation? That might be new enough that maybe if it was on that compilation he had to pay, but maybe if it was old but not on there, maybe it's like falls into fair use or something, public domain.
Becomes public domain when it's 100 years old. Yeah, right.
It's like Wagon Wheel when I guess Old Crow Medicine Show were trying to like find out who wrote it. They reached out to like Bob Dylan because they thought he wrote it, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't write that. I heard that at some campfire in Georgia somewhere." And then he found out who like Bob Dylan learned it from, and asked them. They're like, "Oh no, that's a song that was like
1835." Right.
Handed down. Yeah, exactly. You can actually trace the ownership.
And then Hootie came in to just do a wholesale cover of the Old Crow version.
Well, but like that song, "Why Does My Heart Feel So Bad," samples "He'll Roll Your Burdens Away." That song's from 1966. Like the recording that he pulled that from is from the mid 60s. That's not like lost to like the shadow of time that you can never penetrate it. Like, you know where that came from.
Well, by 99, and he was on Elektra and he had lawyers and stuff. So I assume that this was at a point where people were taking note of who owned what versus the Beastie Boys album where they just picked every song and threw it on and were like, we're done. And they ran away. You don't have anybody to sue. Sorry.
Well, that was also kind of like no precedent had been set, but like precedent had been set at this point. But I do wonder if part of it was like,
right.
defunct band owned by a defunct record label. Who gives a shit? We're not paying them type of thing.
Yeah. Well, if you happen to be listening and you're one of the people who Moby ripped off, please write in.
Turn into like a mesothelioma commercial. Like if you were a loved one.
Class action lawsuit.
Yeah. This album gets the Christgau A+ too, which I think is just so odd. Really? And the more appropriate Pitchfork rating, which is 5 out of 10.
Okay.
On that note, hopefully this wasn't in your notes, Adam, because in doing a modicum of research, I came across a very hilarious Pitchfork quote about this record, which was, "In short, it's fun and functional yet disposable. Play is the condom of rock."
Damn.
I didn't have that one, but thank you for bringing it up. All right, we're going to dive into the backstory of our friend Moby and this album, but first we're going to take a quick break. And we're back. So in preparation this week, I watched a documentary called Moby Doc, which until about an hour ago, I didn't realize was a play on Moby Dick. So I feel like an idiot.
I can't believe I was the only one that invoked that in my tweet. I thought that was like the most low. Maybe it was because it was the most low hanging fruit.
No, Marty, you brought it, man. As always, you brought it with the tweet. And I always, usually when Rob is the host, he goes alphabetically and I don't have to go after you. So this is like when Adam or Alan are the host. I'm like, fuck, I got to go after Marty. This sucks.
So in addition to that, I read his 2016 memoir titled Porcelain. So I'll be pulling extensively from those as well as other various interviews and internet articles from over the years. So there's a version of this story, specifically one that gets told by Moby, that following a commercial flop in the mid-90s, he takes a big swing, a swing that he just assumes will be his last gasp in music, and he writes an emotional and beautiful collection of songs, so beautiful that it starts to smolder and eventually explodes into an inferno and becomes a classic. End of story. It's a beautiful narrative, right? But it's not true. Because play doesn't succeed because radio embraces it, but rather play succeeds because the radio ignores it. And Moby decides, whether deliberately or by happy accident, that there are other ways to get your music to the masses. Volkswagen, Nordstrom, American Express, I'm looking in your direction. So it's always nice to have a single person to talk about, so I don't have to worry about telling the backstory of 5 different people in a band. It makes my job a little bit easier. And that person...
Nobody ever talks about the bass players. Come on. You know that never happens.
You're right. It's always the band count -1. Yeah. Let's be honest.
Guitarist and the lead singer, maybe a drummer every now and then.
It's a maximum 3 on a band. Very good point. But tonight we are talking about a gentleman named Moby, also known as Richard Melville Hall. I understand why he went with Moby.
So Dick Melville.
Yeah. Oh, I didn't think about that. Nice. So he's about 15 years older than us on the call here. He was born in September of 1965. And he's born in Harlem to Elizabeth McBride and James Frederick Hall.
This motherfucker grew up in Harlem?
That was, to me, the most ironic part of this entire thing. Like, that couldn't have, was that still like Harlem? Or like,
dude,
what the fuck?
It was in we're talking 80s and 70s, 80s, and early 90s New York. It was rough.
For a guy who at present sports a huge neck tattoo that says vegan for life in bold capitalized letters, that's a very unlikely birthplace, I'd say.
I'm just going to, like, what's the over-under on the amount of shoes that he went through in a given year after getting his ass kicked and taking his shoes and throwing them over the... Yeah.
Throwing him on the power lines.
God damn it. So now I won't fake you guys out here. I'll just come out and say it. He does not have an easy childhood. Now, Moby doesn't really remember much about his father, except that he had glasses, and he was the one who gave him the nickname Moby. So they were living in Harlem. They have a pet dog, 1 or 2 cats, a bunch of rats. You see, his dad worked as a chemistry professor at Columbia University and would bring home rats. I'm not sure why. For the kids, to eat them, to experiment on them. I have no idea.
He was like, please... Son, torture these rats. For the love of God, don't become a fucking techno musician. Whatever you do.
Or a vegan.
So Moby has all this information, though, secondhand, and I assume it's his mom who's telling him this because he's around 2 years old. And his father is a heavy drinker. His parents would fight a lot. His dad would disappear on drunken binges. His parents are always fighting and smoking and drinking. Rinse, lather, repeat. Early on, this whole vegan thing and the animal thing. So Moby finds that the only calm and stable aspects of his young life are the animals in the house. And this is where he starts at an early age to think that animals are nice and people are terrifying. And in 1967, when Moby is 2, his parents have a big fight. His mom asks for a divorce. His dad gets drunk, storms out of the house, gets in his car, and crashes into a wall at 100 miles an hour and dies.
Shit.
Jesus.
I was going to ask what was the age where his dad comes back in the picture and is like, hey, Moby, I hear you got a platinum record, but apparently not. All right.
Yeah, I hear you're a platinum artist.
I mean, he was 26. He's very young. His father, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. And his mom at this time is now a widow. She's 23. She has a 2-year-old son, a bunch of animals, in a basement apartment in Harlem, and no job. So they wind up moving about 30 miles away to Darien, Connecticut. I believe his grandmother lives there, but she has a very modest house. I feel like she was old school and was already in the area. But I specify it was Darien because Darien was and still is one of the wealthiest communities in the entire country. Median house prices are around $2 million today, something like 290% over the average house price in the U.S. So very early on, he feels ashamed of his status, his house, his lack of wealth. He calls it a stain of inadequacy that followed him for most of his youth. He couldn't make friends because they were the poor people in the neighborhood. He would even go so far as to have his friends in high school and college drop him off in the driveway of a nearby mansion. He would wave goodbye while walking toward the mansion, and when his friends were out of sight, he would then walk to his actual house, a couple blocks away in some small little shack.
That's tough.
Yeah. So this plants this seed of shame in his early life, which would ultimately kind of also play into the Christianity that we'll see come down the line as well, which is wild.
The funny thing is that, like, I'm sure that the house that he was ashamed of was nicer than any of the houses that we grew up in.
Definitely the nicest house I have, for sure.
It says they lived in a squat.
Oh, well.
So
Yeah, all right. So 50-50.
Right. There's a chance.
it's probably a nice squat, Yeah.
So now, more terrible news for poor Moby here. He's also sexually assaulted in preschool.
Oh, fuck.
When he's 3 or 4 years old, and that's something he just started talking about for the first time in 2020. And in an interview, he said in 2020, by the time I am 3.5 years old, everything has already gone wrong. My father had killed himself. I had been raised in an environment of alcoholism and drug abuse, and I was sexually assaulted. So pretty rough for Moby, which means things can only get better.
Can I take back all the shitty things I've said?
Now, he doesn't talk a lot about the specifics of his childhood, but he does mention that his mother would leave him alone, unsupervised, a lot as she would go out with random boyfriends. He started drinking at age 10. Now, despite all this, he starts playing guitar, and in his teen years, he does study music theory, percussion, and learns piano. I wasn't able to find out where that was happening, because apparently if he's living in squalor, I don't know if he somehow got private lessons, but suffice to say, he is an actual musician. He knows stuff, and even from an early age.
I didn't see a picture of him holding a guitar, so checks out.
It's very awkward.
He plays a fair amount of probably any instrument that's played on this album. He is playing not well, I would argue, and there's a few instances that I'll call out later where it's kind of shitty, but he seems to know his way around the instruments for the most part.
Well, it's kind of a flex when in your liner notes you just credit yourself with instruments. It's just like all the instruments.
I agree.
That's
I mean,
me.
that's
like, yeah.
I like that he didn't list them all out. He just wanted a kind of a broad statement. Everything is me. Right around 12 years old, he starts to hear punk music. This kind of coincides with punk music as it's coming out. It serves as the soundtrack for his teenage years. But now let's flash forward to 1983. He's graduating high school and is in a punk band called the Vatican Commandos.
That's a great name.
Which is kind of awesome.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Their debut is called Hit Squad for God. It's a basement recording, which you can actually find on YouTube. It's not a Christian-themed album. And if you're looking to hear a bunch of 17-year-olds pound on their instruments, you'll love it. It sounds exactly like you would expect in 1983.
Yeah, I'm going to just go on record and say His Squad for God is a pretty tight band name.
So it's also around this time that he says that he decided to dedicate his life to animals and music in that order. So he graduates high school, starts attending the University of Connecticut, gets his hands on some electronic gear, I think a synthesizer, probably a drum machine. He also starts doing some DJing, not at clubs, but DJing at an actual radio station. This is the college radio station.
I would expect that you would have said that he got like an internship at the zoo. But, you know,
The SPCA.
right?
Dude, you don't work at the SPCA. They spend most of their time putting animals down, man.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
That's the fucking ugly truth of it, man. You know,
That's true. That's true.
So now, according to him, early on at college, he's partying a lot. One night, he takes some acid, has a really bad trip that lasts 15 hours. And when he finally comes around, he finds that he is in a nonstop panic attack that lasts for 6 months. Now, the only way he's able to function is to try to drown himself in booze. A foolproof plan, no doubt. So this is kind of the moment when he becomes an alcoholic. At least he justified it that way.
I've been trying that for 30 years and it still hasn't worked.
The panic attacks? They won't go away.
it hasn't not worked.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. It's also around this time that he's starting to develop this alcohol problem that he discovers Christianity in a major way. And according to Premier Christianity, which is the UK's leading Christian magazine online, he's challenged by a friend to read the Gospels and falls in love with Jesus and his message. So he gets clean, partly due to Jesus, and also the fact that his father died from alcohol as well. So he's clean. He's a teetotaler.
He just sounds like a gigantic fucking nerd, man. Jesus Christ.
He kind of reminds me of the guy from High Fidelity, the other clerk, not the Jack Black guy, but the other real like timid, meek guy. I don't know. If you've seen that movie,
yeah.
I feel like they could have cast Moby in that
Yeah, totally.
quite perfectly.
It's weird that you can read the Gospels and just be like, oh, yeah, I like this.
That makes a ton of sense.
This is cool.
yeah.
I'm a Christian now. He talks about being a Christian a lot in his memoir. So not only is he a Christian, but he's a really pretentious Christian who looks down his nose at other Christians, namely the rich ones, or as we call them, Christians. No, I'm joking. I'm
sure Moby is just scraping by these days.
So at this point, he's sharing an apartment in Greenwich, Connecticut, and doing weekly gigs at a small cafe and at an all-ages party at a church. He's also leading Bible studies. This is really where he develops this ultra-judgmental version of Christianity, because he would go to these mansions in Greenwich for Bible studies and hate all of the people because they had money. And Jesus says to live in squalor. And he also doesn't like people who eat meat. So he says that he thinks that God is disappointed in him because he doesn't minister enough to the homeless. He has lustful thoughts. He wants to be a musician, but at least he's nailing that whole live in poverty thing. So we have an abused child who grew up around drugs and alcohol, does a bunch of drugs and alcohol, gets clean, becomes a Christian. Oh, he's a Star Trek geek.
Oh, Okay.
And while he likes the original, he thinks that the next generation is canon.
There we go.
Oh, he's a vegan as well. So insufferable is the word you're looking for.
I mean, I guess if I grew up with rats, I wouldn't want to eat animals either.
All right, now growing up in Connecticut, he's only ever about a 40-minute train ride from New York City. And in fact, he says that New York City functions as an escape for him. Manhattan is freedom, Manhattan is excitement. And he would routinely hop the metro, hide in the bathroom to avoid the $5 fare, and then spend the entire day walking around the city, dropping off demo tapes of his music to clubs and record companies. Now, these demos are him DJing on a tape, along with some of his work on a drum machine and synthesizer.
And so the offers just were pouring in, I imagine, just couldn't book enough weekends. Yeah.
You can imagine. And so he spends 2 years doing this, and he gets super depressed because he doesn't have so much as a nibble. So he decides to take it up a notch and really focus on his craft, and he moves to an abandoned warehouse occupied by a couple other artists in a super shitty area in Stamford, Connecticut.
What's the rat count in there?
He quite literally assembles his apartment, creating walls from old plywood that he found in dumpsters outside. There's no running water, but there is electricity that he can hack into. And he notes that in the summer, when it got really hot, his apartment would smell like the garbage from the dumpster where he got the plywood.
Oh, Jesus.
That's the gift, the gift that keeps on giving. So now he pays $50 a month to the security guard who monitors that warehouse to not say anything about him squatting there. He called this squatter's rent. So while he hangs out with his punk rock friends, he's also starting to assemble an arsenal of cheap and secondhand recording and music gear. Now, while wandering around New York, he gets wind of a new nightclub opening up in Manhattan in the meatpacking district that is alleged to be the new hotspot for dance music. And at the recommendation of his girlfriend at the time, he puts together an hour's worth of music on a cassette that would function as his DJ audition. One side is hip-hop, the other is his electronic set. Anyway, the new club is called Mars, so he goes to Mars during the day and asks if there's a job application form for being the DJ.
Fucking nerds.
They, of course, laugh in his face, but take his cassette.
That's like when George Costanza needs a job and he's like, maybe I could just be like the general manager of a baseball team.
Well, they sometimes hire people who know more about baseball.
Well, that's not fair.
So he's a 23-year-old electronic musician living in squalor who's only gigging twice a week. Now, after bribing a telephone repairman to illegally install a phone line into his plywood shack, he actually gets a call back from Mars and gets his first gig at that club in the basement for $100. Now, this is a great on-ramp to him start DJing a bit more.
You know, I don't mean to be a dick.
Yes, you do.
But, well, yeah, okay, yeah, I actually do. But the least believable or the most surprising part of that story for me was at the behest of his girlfriend. I did not do any research for Moby this week. I'm just going to, cards on the table, no research. I super thought he was gay.
Yeah, he is not.
Yeah. Also, if I was super broke, the last thing I would spend my money, and an alcoholic,
right.
The last thing I would spend my money is bribing someone. That's like, you need some like extra cash flow to get into the bribing
He's got to
game.
sharpen a screwdriver and tell him you're going to stab him in the kidneys if he tells anybody about you.
Right.
So this is a great on-ramp to him starting to DJ a bit more. He starts to make enough money that he can now afford an apartment in Manhattan with 3 or 4 other people. And he takes the smallest bedroom and sets up his studio. Now, it's 1989, Moby's 24, and New York City has its most violent year ever. Something like 2,200 murders happened that year. In comparison, just for comparison, 400 murders in 2024. So I'm saying this is rough Manhattan. It is gritty, it's disgusting, it's dirty, it's crime-ridden.
It's like Gotham City.
It really is. And Moby loves it. He's never been happier. He's in this gritty movie.
Definitely not going to Harlem, though, you notice. He's like, I'm a Manhattan guy. I stay in Manhattan.
You're right.
I'm not crossing 110th Street, all right?
Now, it's at this point in his story that I did start to appreciate the grind. He doesn't appear to be some rich kid who's just handed a gig. He is slumming it and working hard for years. For example, he's often putting a bunch of record crates, his turntable, keyboard, drum machine in like a Dr. Seuss style pile on a skateboard and then pushing that to his gigs through the meatpacking district, through like puddles of blood. And it kind of stuck out to me like, okay, well, he wants it. He's going after it. So I appreciate that.
He does seem very self-made, and I can respect that, regardless of, he seems kind of toolish and all this other shit. But he does seem like he did it himself, not a Nepo baby.
Right.
Didn't have a bunch of industry connections, shit like that. So yeah, I think that's a point on the positive side of the ledger.
Right.
Yeah.
Fatherless children really have to like learn how to hustle,
So now I think part of his appeal was also that he stood out like a sore thumb in the scene. So you can imagine New York City, the late 80s, early 90s, the hip hop scene and dance scene is mostly black and Latino. And yet here's this scrawny white kid who's showing up to the record shops and trying to hang with the other legendary DJs of the day.
Is he trying to like minister to these people too? Is he still super Christian? Like, that's a sick beat. You know who else had sick beats? Jesus Christ. Yeah.
So now he's always said that he loved Fridays in the city because that's when all of the new records hit the record stores, especially the smaller record stores that focused on hip hop and dance music. And it's there that you'd find the cool underground stuff, the stuff made by independent labels and weirdos in their apartments with their recording gear. And he said that DJs from all around the tri-state area would crowd into these record stores where they would often have 3 DJs spinning at once in one room.
Sounds terrible.
They'd be spinning these new records at super loud volume, and you would basically like walk around and stand in front of the speakers to hear what is coming out, what's new. And he said there were these, he called them the legends or the OGs of the DJ scene who would show up, and all of the other DJs would kind of like watch them as the guys were spinning stuff. And whenever one of these legends smiled or like pointed, everyone would go and buy that album. And then that would kind of like filter across the clubs of Manhattan because of these handful of trendsetters that were hanging out in these album stores. So again, he's an outsider, but he loves it. He's hanging out in mostly black, Latino, and gay clubs, either dancing or DJing. He's 24, and like any struggling musician, he's taking every gig he can find, including DJing orgies. He talks about one gig where he's hired to DJ a New York swingers party. Judging from the description, it is not an Eyes Wide Shut scene, but more of a depressing, smelly room with a bunch of soiled mattresses all over the ground.
Yeah, most orgies are like that, yeah.
Yes, I can't imagine they're that.
That's how I imagine most orgies are,
If you hire an orgy DJ, do they arrange the orgy for you, or do you already have to have that like on the books?
I'm not even messing around. There was legitimately an article recently in the Bay Area about the DJs who play orgies in the Bay Area, and the guys are like, you gotta read the room, you gotta like set the tempo, you start off a little bit and then eventually you gotta get it thumping, and you gotta get it going. It's like, dude, yeah.
Well, the craziest thing is that when he's telling this story, there were 2 other DJs that were at this orgy. They were like cycling on and off. Like, why just bring one guy?
Is there like craft services at these orgies? They have like a table with snacks.
Yeah, just like put on a CD.
So the next big gig he gets is at a place called Limelight, which sounds like the Mos Eisley Cantina from Star Wars. Moby describes it as full of, quote, drug-addled old queens, pee-drinking contests, people dressed as chickens, piles of drugs, passed-out celebs, and random bathroom sex in an old church.
Wow.
I mean, that's kind of awesome.
Where else would they do that?
I don't want to move to Manhattan now, or 30 years ago.
You had me at piss drinking contest.
So he continues taking every gig under the sun. And one night while DJing at Mars, a guy named Jared Hoffman approaches Moby and tells him he's starting a record label and needs talent. So he looks elsewhere. No, I'm kidding.
That's good.
He gives Moby his card. Moby is super pumped because he spent years sending out tapes, getting crickets in reply, and out of nowhere, someone approaches him. So Moby and Jared meet in Jared's apartment. Moby plays some more of his stuff for him. Jared likes what he hears and offers Moby a contract on his label.
I think that this probably worked more like he was like, hey, Jared, I saw you at that orgy the other day. Be ashamed if somebody called your family and told you that.
I have these Polaroids. All right. So now this contract that Jared offers Moby, there's a couple caveats here. So Jared and his label don't have an office or staff or money or any other artists yet, and they don't even have a name yet. So they've really got a lot going for them. But they at least solve one of these problems and go with the label name Instinct. So Moby keeps DJing at Mars and is getting more widely known in the area. There's this great scene that plays out at Mars where Big Daddy Kane comes through the club with his entourage, and Moby and the club goers are super excited. Then who should walk through the door but Daryl from Run DMC? He comes in. He jumps up on stage, grabs the mic. Moby starts spinning a record. He is freaking out because Daryl is freestyling and it's one of his heroes standing right next to him. The music is pumping. Everyone in the club is losing their shit. And then silence. Moby had gotten a little too excited and bumped his record player hard enough that the needle jumps and flies to the blank inner part of the record. Literally everything stops. Daryl throws the mic down, storms off. Everyone in the crowd is booing, which I just love a good shit gig. So
Real supportive crowd.
this is the night where Moby learns that you have to tape quarters to the needle of your record player. That's why DJs do that, so that it really holds the needle against the record.
I just love the mental image of like Daryl from Run DMC. Record scratch goes to silent. He turns around and there's Moby with his big like Coke bottle glasses. Like, oh no! He's like, what the fuck, man?
Right.
Did I do that? Like,
I mean, also, like, it's kind of intuitive that you would think playing a record with a bunch of people jumping on the floor, there might be a risk that the needle might jump.
Maybe. They solved it, though, so. All right, now, despite that disaster, Moby keeps plowing forward, and by 1990, he's making about $8,000 a year DJing clubs in and around New York City. He gets a pretty big break, an opportunity to spin at Palladium, which is the mothership of all dance clubs in New York City at this time. Moby is going to do an opening set for Snap. Now, you guys remember Snap, whose big hits are...
I got the power.
There you go. Yes, sir. And rhythm is a dancer. It's a... Anyway.
Oh, that's them too? Huh.
Yeah, that's them as well.
Those are both better songs than anything he's ever created.
So he is super pumped at this opportunity because Snap is the biggest dance act around. Now, from a production standpoint, Snap isn't a band. It's just two people, a man and a woman, and a tape. So they show up at a gig and they put the tape in, they sing over it. I mean, it's a dance club. So in prep for this gig, Moby puts together a 25-minute live set. So he's not just spinning other dance music, he's doing some of his mashups, some of his synth stuff, some of the electronic music he's been making. Now, on the day of the show, he passes a construction site and he sees all the promo posters are up and it says in big letters, Snap, and then underneath of that, it has his name, Moby. A pretty cool moment. So he gets to the venue early and he's hauling his usual ton of gear, presumably on a skateboard. He's got his old sequencer, drum machine, sampler, keyboard, 16-channel mixer, Elisa's Quadriverb multi-effects, a lot of shit in this guy's rig. Now, to prep all of this at the venue, he has a pretty complicated boot sequence. It takes him about 5 minutes to load music into a sampler by way of 4 floppy disks, like the big 5 1/4-inch discs from the olden days.
That you would play like Oregon Trail on, basically.
Yes, right. So he finishes sound check, goes and waits in the green room. Right before he goes on to open the show, he finds out that Snap had to cancel at the last minute. So that now makes Moby the headliner. Now he's worried that people are going to boo him, but the main MC says, look, people don't care. They just want to dance and have a good time, so they get another DJ to open for Moby. So when it's time for Snap to come on stage, the MC comes on, tells the unknowing crowd that Snap has canceled, and introduces Moby. So he comes on stage, and the entire audience is booing, and people are chanting Snap. He goes to start his sampler, and it doesn't work. Checked all the power cables. Everything is on, but it's not working. Turns out someone unplugged his rig and plugged it back in, so the sampler lost all of its data.
Nice.
So he has 5 minutes of load time ahead of him while everybody's booing at him. So he brings up like a drum patch on his keyboard and starts playing a beat with like his right hand while he's loading discs into the sampler with his left hand for 5 minutes.
I remember going to see a show where...
A Moby show?
No, it wasn't a Moby show. This was at the University of Delaware, and it was 3 doors down.
Don't tell people that.
Hold me when I'm here, love me when I'm gone.
Don't disclose that information.
This is where Run DMC were supposed to be the headliner.
I was going to mention that. And people were like throwing batteries on stage and shit.
So Run DMC didn't show up, and like Three Doors Down had to play an extended set, and they would finish their song, and it was like dead silence.
Oh man.
No, but not only that, people were waiting. I think I was with you, Tom and Phil, and maybe Rob too. Shocking, but people were literally getting agitated. Like people were waiting like 2 hours, and it was so obvious they weren't coming. And then someone would be like, "Oh, I heard they're coming off I-95 right now." They definitely were not.
Yeah. They'd bring somebody up and be like, "Oh, Run DMC will be right here. How about another couple from Three Doors Down?"
I thought you were saying you were going on purpose to see Three Doors Down.
No. But it was hilarious because like they would finish the song and it was like dead silence, and people were literally just like, "You suck," and it was like so audible. You could see the band being like, "Fuck, god damn it!" It's like,
That's rough, man.
exactly. I gotta play 6 more songs to get paid. Fuck this.
Maybe they got some dining hall vouchers.
right, some points.
So that gig, he actually winds up getting everything going and winds up having a good night. It's a pretty big success for him. And now that he's making a name for himself and he's on Instinct Record, he begins releasing singles. One of those singles contains a B-side called Go. Now, the single itself doesn't sell very well, but less than a year later, he remixes it, adds in some strings, and for some reason, this new version really takes off. When it's released in the UK, it hits #1. So we'll drop a piece of that song here. It's called Go.
Never be snooty about music again, UK. #1. #1.
Yeah, you've lost all credibility.
Now, from that moment on, he's in demand. He's flying back and forth to England every few weeks to DJ at clubs. He becomes known as Moby Go because the single for Go just says Moby Go, so everyone calls him Moby Go. So Moby Go is now getting more high-profile DJing spots and traveling to the UK, Amsterdam, Berlin, Paris, appearing on magazine covers, even performs on the ever-crucial Top of the Pops. He's getting more and more commercial exposure, partly through his label releasing his demos without his permission. So, in 1992, his label releases, again without his permission, his debut studio album titled Moby for the US release, and The Story So Far in its UK version.
Well, how does that work without, was he recording and he banked this and they threw it out and didn't clear it? Like, how does that work?
I think so. From what it sounds like, he had a bunch of demos that he had made. He had these 1 or 2 big singles, and the record company was like, just get something out there. We got to capitalize on this Go single. So they just took a bunch of his demos, threw them down, and pushed it out. He had no idea what was happening in the background. So upon its release, Moby says that all the music is over a year old. It doesn't reflect where he is musically anymore. He wanted more of a statement album, but the debut was really just a compilation of what he considered unreleasable material. But he goes on tour with Prodigy that year to promote the album.
Oh, there we go.
I was going to say, if we're ripping on Moby, we're going to probably get some Prodigy haters or some Prodigy lovers coming to hate us.
You know what? Here's what I will say. To all the Prodigy people out there, that shit's way better than Moby. All right? I'm not saying I like it, but it's way better than Moby.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
Tom, I thought I had the same thought. I even went back and listened to some Prodigy. I'm not going to say it's way better, but it at least feels like there was some care put into the way the song, like
Additive. Like, it's additive in terms of, like, they're bringing something to the table.
Do you guys remember if Prodigy got voted on or off the list in this podcast?
Oh, I think they went over 4.
Fat of the Land did not get any.
Didn't get any. Okay, so there you go.
Is that right? I would have thought 1 vote at least for like the influence and the impact, but not for the quality of the music.
I would have said yes.
Well, you would have gotten bullied profusely.
We'll go back retroactively and add your vote. Rob won't allow it. So in 1993, he releases his second album called Ambient. And no big surprise, it's full of semi-ambient but still dancey and experimental tracks. It sells decently.
I'm sorry, I just went back and looked. There was one vote for the Prodigy's Fat of the Land, making it on the list. It was me. I can't fucking believe that. God damn it. I hope that's a typo.
You can't hide. You can't hide from the scrolls.
I'm sure it was out of spite from something one of us said.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So now Moby gets signed to Elektra Records, and he now has the resources to start living the life of a rock star. So he hangs up his sobriety and becomes, in his own words, a complete
He
degenerate.
hung up his sobriety. I've never heard a phrase that way before. That's awesome.
He's having Miller Lights and eating hot dogs. He's just completely going total degenerate.
Just eating rats.
No, he goes hard, man. He's banging strippers. He had a story where he woke up after a threesome covered in somebody else's feces.
I do not have a story to match that. Okay, there we go.
It sounds like he was going hard. So in 1995, he releases his third studio album called Everything Is Wrong, which is recorded and mixed in his apartment in New York City. This album really sets Moby up for success. The album receives critical acclaim. Spin calls it Album of the Year.
What?
The Village Voice rates it the third best album of 1995. It sells 160,000 copies in the US, 100,000 copies in the UK. The LA Times says of Moby that he is poised for greatness to make that big crossover from respected underground artist to bona fide rock star. So Moby is all but assured to be the biggest name in music. He even does Lollapalooza in 95 and tours with the Flaming Lips and the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I mean, I knew he was somewhat on the radar at that point, but I'm not saying Spin is the holy grail or anything, but calling that the album of the year, that's not nothing.
Yeah.
So now as an artist, what do you do next? Well, you make a guitar-filled alt-rock and hardcore punk album focused on alienation and self-loathing. And it definitely succeeds in alienating his fan base and being loathed among the critics.
Yeah, there we go.
So Moby takes a hard right turn and makes an album called Animal Rights with real instruments and screaming. In fact, we'll drop a little piece of one of the songs from this album so you can hear just how much he changed things up. This is a song called Face It, and we're going to jump in around the 4-minute mark of this 10-minute song.
I think this is kind of better than a lot of the other stuff that he's done. I wouldn't have been alienated.
I enjoyed listening to this track.
When you sent this song around, I thought you put the wrong song on this list. I was just like, what the fuck is that?
This song is at least doing something,
It's also 10 minutes long.
Yeah, it's also 10 minutes long. I'm not going to say I want to listen to it. I'm not going to say it's good, but it's doing something. It's not, right in the middle of the road here.
So as you can hear, that's quite a different direction. He pisses off a lot of his fans. A Salon reviewer said, quote, "Maybe somebody should try to convince Moby that guitars are actually made out of dead animals."
That's good. That's good.
Get them on our podcast.
Yeah. Right. So this is obviously a time before the common era of genre hopping that I feel is way more acceptable nowadays. Now, despite having Bono and Axl Rose both reach out to tell him they like what he's doing, this album, Animal Rights, really tanks his career. He's seen as a wash-up at this point. He tries to tour for the album, but is routinely playing to 50 people, maybe, per night. So he's in a pretty low spot. And that is going to bring us to everyone's favorite segment of the show. This is Moby by the Numbers.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Our first number is 1,500. That first B-side single from Go originally only sells 1,500 copies.
I was going to say that should be the actual position that on the 1001 album complaints.
There's 499 albums ahead of him.
That's pretty generous.
But that single was called Mobility. Go was the B-side. And it sold 1,500 copies. I do like that Moby can play with his name.
I also like how it's What a colossal failure that has sold more than any album we've ever put.
Now, that remix that I mentioned, it's released in the UK and goes on to sell at least 1 million copies, which is just wild.
What?
Our next number, 2,000. Now, according to Moby, he only made $2,000 from the millions of copies he sold for that single Go. Again, he didn't talk much about what the actual contract was, but if you sell 1 million copies and you make 2,000, that's simple math that I can't do right now because I don't have a calculator in front of me.
I mean, I've never heard of a record company like shafting their artists, so I find that hard to believe.
Never.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our next number is 1,015, as in 1,015 beats per minute. Yes, Moby earns a Guinness World Record, potentially the stupidest world record I've ever heard, for the fastest tempo of any released single.
I mean, that's just like one note, sustained, right?
And it's a sequencer.
Can humans actually hear the delineation between beats at that BPM?
No, it becomes a note.
Okay, yeah.
It probably sounds like just like a Sepultura scream, just like.
Yeah.
It sounds. I'm sure it sounds like fucking dial-up or something like that. It's like.
It's just a screech. It's really stupid. I thought I had the name of the song written down, but I'm sure you can Google that.
I don't need to know that. That's fucking dumb, and I will never listen to it.
You failed, Adam.
It's called like Tempo or something. All right, our next number is 12, as in 12 million. Today's album Play has sold 12 million copies worldwide. Not too shabby.
I mean, I guess there are that many Ugg-wearing, Starbucks chugging fucking basic bitches in the world that would listen to this shit in the 90s.
Well, that was also right on the cusp of Napster and all that shit. So this was sort of that last gasp of when people were actually buying CDs.
Came in just under the wire.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
All right, our next number is 20, as in 20 million. In total, during his long career, he has sold over 20 million albums worldwide. Obviously, Play accounts for more than half. It was quite a standout.
Can we blame Europe for this? Is that fair?
Oh, yeah. I feel like they led the charge on all this.
That's the default.
Yeah, it's Europe. It's all your fault.
Blame those Europeans. Our next number is 7, as in 7 a.m. That's the start time for one of his gigs in England. No, it isn't a morning gig. Well, I guess it kind of is. Like I mentioned in the story, Moby continues to go back to the one place where electronic music really has a vibrant scene, and that's England. And in one anecdote, he shows up at 11 p.m. to play a set at a club in London. Now, his sets usually last 20 to 30 minutes. Then he hops in a car and drives across town for the second gig, which doesn't start until 3 a.m. He finishes that gig, and he's told that there's another opportunity to do a set and make another couple $100. He needs the money, so he agrees. He and his driver get lost driving into the countryside and show up at an outdoor rave at 7 a.m. where people are sobering up and stumbling around, and he plays music for them as the sun comes up.
This music would make me want to go home. So
Trying to clear the place out.
It'd make me not want to sober up, though. keep getting fucked up.
Now, Moby wears this like a badge of honor, and I'm sure it's hard, but he's a DJ. I'm sorry, not to go all old man, but back in my day, I once played something the equivalent of like 6 hours of music in a 9-hour period, and he shows up and does 90 minutes of
Knob turning.
he presses play, and he's like, yeah, there we go.
He's like, oh, I got some old gospel spirituals for you here. Let me just cue those up.
Exactly.
And our final number is 0, and that is the number of Golden Globes we have won as a podcast. Now, we record these episodes a bit in advance, but last night was the Golden Globes, and now I know it was a close competition, but for those of you who don't follow award season, we did get beaten by the podcast Good Hang. But I want everyone to know I'm not bitter at all. Look, there's a lot of space at the top. I think it's exciting when a newbie, a virtual unknown, some woman named Amy Pollard, starts up a show with 0 money, 0 team, 0 production, no famous guests, and in only 10 short months of organic and grassroots growth manages to dethrone us. So good on you, Amy. Now, if you do want to help us get nominated for next year's Golden Globes, the best thing you can do is to head over to our Patreon page, where you can sign up for free to join in on the fun and keep the conversation going long after this episode ends. And if you're feeling really generous, you can give a one-time donation of $5 to the Good Hang podcast to help them out, because I'm sure they could use the money even more than us.
The hell are you talking about? We could use the money more.
All right, so let's go back and see where Moby is. So when we last left him, his last release is a total flop. He thinks he's ruined. He tours unsuccessfully on and off for about 2 years, but he's slowly putting together what he assumes will be his last album before he abandons music altogether.
What could have been?
And that's where our story ends, folks.
That's it. We'll see you next week. Now, in those 2 years after that animal rights debacle, a friend of his lends him the CD collection called Sounds of the South, a musical journey from the Georgia Sea Islands to the Mississippi Delta. Really rolls off the tongue. And Alan, this is what you were talking about earlier. It's a collection of recordings from a guy named Alan Lomax. Now, that name may sound familiar to listeners of the podcast because we talked about Alan Lomax before, most notably on our Muddy Waters episode. That's episode 195. If you haven't listened, go back and check it out. But Alan Lomax was an ethnomusicologist. Basically, he went around the U.S. trying to capture audio of the musical traditions across the South so that they wouldn't be lost to time when all the old folks started dying off. So Moby gets really into these old songs from folk singers like Bessie Jones, Boy Blue, and Vera Hall. So he starts working on today's album, and that is Play, in August of 1997. He works on it on and off for almost 2 years, creating it in his home studio in New York City. And he completes the recordings and has a few outside companies mix and master it, but he doesn't really like how it sounds, so he winds up mixing it himself.
Can we just touch on this for a second about his home studio? That's just a man in it, like, shut up in his apartment, like a fucking psychopathic shut-in with the windows pulled, like the window shades pulled down in the dark, just like working on shit. Like, it's my home studio
With a MIDI sequencer.
Don't talk about James. He's not here to defend himself.
/ bedroom in a shared, house.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm here drinking at my home bar, which is my darkened garage. Like, he's doing a lot of work there.
No, but I want to touch on something else you said, Adam, which is this idea, and I don't remember what wording you used, but something to the effect of like he didn't like how it was mixed or something. I feel like every song that I came across that he has a Wikipedia page for, which is like 7 or 8 songs on this record, it just, even in cursory research, was some variation of he almost didn't put it on the record because he didn't like how it sounded or mixed or produced. And it's like,
Yeah.
is this guy like the ultimate perfectionist or something? Or
He probably just doesn't like himself.
that would make sense.
Talking about the ultimate perfectionist, and this is going to make several of our Patreon commenters chuckle, but the thing that I knew about Moby before coming into this week was that he was the man who officially inducted Steely Dan into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Oh, God.
I'm sure they boycotted just because of that.
I definitely remember seeing him being like, oh, it's named after a William S. Burroughs sex toy, and like being like very proud of that knowledge. And you're like,
Donald Fagen was probably like, fuck this.
seriously, like, you fucking nerd. Jesus Christ, I didn't sign on for this. It made me be like, should I not like Steely Dan? No, I still like Steely Dan. Right. Fuck you.
Wait, Moby likes him? I can't do it. So by March of 1999, he has completed the album Play and is thinking that when this record comes out, it'll be the end of my career. I should start thinking about what else I can do. And he was seriously considering going back to school for architecture. Now remember, he has no label now, but he tries shopping at Warner Brothers, Sony, RCA. But after the disaster of Animal Rights, he's ignored by every major label. Until he goes and gets this in front of V2 Records, which was the record company that Richard Branson started after he sold Virgin. So they pick it up, but they don't exactly push it. His manager is trying to get the music in front of reviewers to listen to it, but everyone is ignoring him. Now, Moby is hoping to sell at least 250,000 copies, which he thinks would have been a success. But immediately upon release, very disappointing sales. We're talking like 1,000 copies a week. And apparently the first show he does to promote it is in the basement of the Virgin Megastore in New York City, and it's attended by 40 people. So how on earth does this go from nothing to Moby's biggest album? Well, to quote Spaceballs, I'm sorry, I meant licensing. So his management had quietly been thinking about this ever since one of Moby's songs, namely God Moving Over the Face of the Waters, was used in the movie Heat.
Wait. Al Pacino, fucking Robert De Niro, Val Kilmer, greatest shootout scene of all time, Heat, has a Moby song in it?
Yes. I don't know if it's during the climax, if it's during that shootout scene.
It could not be during the shootout scene. It just couldn't be.
But yes, it is used in Heat, and that plants the seed. So they all know that he is likely not going to get much radio play given the disaster of animal rights and how people are basically avoiding him. So they go and they start courting indie film companies, big ad agencies, going so far as to throw a free party for the film industry at the Slam Dance Film Festival in 1999. Slowly but surely, interest starts to crop up, and they're getting requests for his songs.
Slam Dance, not Sundance? You did say Slam Dance, which sounds like a way better film festival. Yeah.
I was like, damn, is that like a punk rock festival?
Slam Dance Film Festival, yeah, that
Maybe
is something.
more
Why would he be at Sundance Film Festival?
I don't know, man.
Slam Dance Film Festival, 1999. It's the thing! You're right, though. When I wrote that down, I didn't even think that it is extremely close to Sundance.
I don't want to harp on this too much or spend too much time on it or derail the story, but one of the things I did appreciate in all the shit talking we're doing is the idea of making something that you don't think anyone is going to listen to. And I think that on one hand, what you get is something that's probably not very well thought through, probably somewhat disjointed, probably something that you're just maybe spitting out into the world. But I have a little bit of an appreciation for the idea that you are just making something that if you don't think anyone's going to hear it, it's probably getting you a little closer to like your own source of truth. And I do think there's something to be said for that.
Yeah. On that note, buy Stay Puffed by The Chop. It's available. Yes.
We hate ourselves too.
Poured your soul out. So Moby and his management team managed to license the songs on Play more than any other album in history. And it becomes the first album in history to have every track licensed. He licenses them to movies, commercials for cars, appliances, including but not limited to Playing by Heart, The Beach, featuring Leo DiCaprio, Gone in 60 Seconds, Requiem for a Dream, The X-Files, Cold Case, Prison Break, CSI New York, Volkswagen, Nordstrom, Bailey's Irish Cream, American Express, Bosch, Maxwell House, Rolling Rock, and lastly, most importantly, Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Wow, was like Shaquille O'Neal his mentor or something? It's like him and Peyton Manning.
All told, these songs are used over 100 times across TV, movies, and advertising. So think about how much time you spend in the early 2000s watching commercials. Eventually, all these songs start to burrow into the ears of the general masses, and Play starts to get, well, some play. Radio stations start playing it, MTV starts playing videos. It goes from a couple thousand copies a week at its release to selling 200,000 copies per week within a year.
Jesus Christ.
So he and his team successfully turned licensing into an art form, not a compromise. I would have done the same thing. Hey, do you want people to hear your music? Yeah, I do. Full stop.
I've said this many times before, but there was a period in my life where I would have thought it's douchey to sell out. And now I'm like, dude, I would, if you give me $1 for anything I've ever made, you can have it and do whatever the hell you want with it.
Fucking ISIS called me and was like, hey, we need a track to play under our beheading videos. I'd be like, fucking sold. What is it, $35? Oh, fucking yeah, let's do it, man.
The door has been opened. Your move.
Yeah. You know, we get a lot of play in the Levant, you know, the greater Syria area. So if you guys want some tracks to play underneath it, I think we got some good ones.
All right, now once the critics actually start to pay attention to it, they love it as well, including, like Alan said, our old buddy Robert Christgau from The Village Voice gives it an A+. and gives it the number 2 spot on his best albums of the year for 1999.
Invite to the show rescinded, Chris Gow. Fuck you. God damn.
To be fair, this is not some electronic masterpiece by any means. Clearly, we've had our fun at this. I do think it was probably different enough in that year. Like, we haven't gone through a full context setting of, I mean, was that when Limp Bizkit was starting to take hold and new metal? So it was probably not up against very much, is my point.
Dude, there was a lot going on in 1990. Backstreet Boys Millennium came out in 1990. Come on.
Just a System of a Down, probably. Yeah.
Santana's Smooth.
That had to have been number 1.
This album expands what techno can mean to the wider world. Techno and electronic music are still largely siloed into clubs and niche audiences at this time, but Play translated that electronic music out of the rave and into everyday life. It kind of showed that electronic music can be reflective, slow, and soulful. So Play helped legitimize electronic producers as artists rather than just DJs. It really opens the door for techno to be taken seriously by critics, labels, and listeners who might never step into a club. So there you have it. That is the story leading up to Play. So gentlemen, what do you say we jump into our focus list?
Start the timer.
Yes.
All right, so we are going to jump in. We're going to revisit the first track on this album. This one is called Honey.
So this kind of starts out with a lot of promise. I think that the choppy rhythm that he introduces underneath it goes really well with the cadence of the sample that he's using. But I really have a hard time feeling that a lot of it is additive. Like, I think that the sample's cool.
I almost think, can you even call it a sample?
But yeah.
At that point, it's not like strategically placed. It literally is. And I've said that already, but like,
the sample doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. It goes the whole fucking song.
It's just an assault. It's like you hitting someone in the head with a baseball bat of this sample.
It's like taking one of those like color by numbers of the Mona Lisa and switching the colors up and being like, it's new art. You're like, no, it's just that.
Yeah, it's like playing the whole song Somewhere Over the Rainbow and just playing the beat underneath it.
You're right.
But to your point, Tom, it is a strong album opener, though, and it is. I had also the similar fleeting feeling of like, oh shit, I'm kind of scared I might like this.
But like, what part is it? Is it the sample that he used? I mean, I guess the combination works okay.
Where I think he succeeds is I think he has a good ear for hooks, and I think that he has a good ability to find things that work.
I think the piano line with the vocal, they're obviously two different things smushed together, work well together, and I think that's probably the strongest part of the song.
Yeah, it's a good aesthetic, and I just think that he does nothing with it. It's like he's got a concept, his concepts of a plan, as they say, and then just, it doesn't really add much to it.
But I'll give it to him. He knows his lane, because this works really well as like the chase scene on a Guy Ritchie rip-off straight to DVD movie soundtrack or something like that, where you get about 45 seconds of it and you're like, okay, I could take about 45 seconds of this, but there's no way I'm sitting through the entirety of this song and being like, oh, this sounds great. This song's over 3 minutes and there's no changes, basically.
One of the things that I read was around the whole licensing thing. I think it was Vice had a big article on Moby and his licensing strategy, is that all of these songs are so nondescript. Mm-hmm. They're not about anything. So they fit everything.
Yeah.
Like you said, you could take any one of these songs and throw it into, you're right, as they fade into the sunset in a bad action movie. Literally every one of these songs could be that, So that was something I struggled with this week.
Ultimately, that makes it background music. And I think that it's lucrative background music, certainly. And I think some of it is a little bit more memorable than background music, but it comes off feeling a little bit contrived. And I think the other thing too is, maybe we'll get into more of this as the songs go on, but there is, I try not to get bothered by this part of it too much, but there is the idea of like white guy that just cribs all these old gospel songs and just does like 5 of them in a row to just basically start the album. And you do get to a certain point where you're like, what exactly are you trying to do here? If you spread 1 or 2 of these out, but it sounds like you're doing like a concept album of digging up these old gospel spiritual tunes only to abandon them halfway through the album for
I didn't even think about that. You're right. The structure of the album, you're right. They're very front heavy on these old-timey sampled ones.
Well, and one thing we didn't talk about is this album's over a fucking hour long. It's a 63-minute album, and that's not even the album that's available on Spotify, which is much longer.
Oh, God. It's like 2 hours and 10 minutes is the one on Spotify. We had to trim it down, but kind of, peek behind the curtains. We made a playlist that is the actual album, not the one that's on Spotify.
It's still too long.
Agreed.
Oh, absolutely. No. This felt like a death march, this album, honestly. And I think that I like parts of the aesthetic of the album, and there are elements where I hear a little piece here and there and think, this is kind of cool. This is kind of vibey. But it's fatiguing to get through this album, I felt.
Yeah, it's the Moby formula. Start out with a sample. That's kind of cool. Put a little drums behind it after 2 bars. That's kind of cool. Choppy piano, kind of cool. And then you get to a point where you pull it all back and it's just the sample again. And then it comes back in for another minute. Come on.
Look, don't use up all the content. We got 4 more songs to get to. Don't use up all the content, Tom.
Yeah, I was going to say, all right, so we'll ask Rob, who's going to edit this, to just simply copy and paste all of those comments for our next song, which is going to be Porcelain.
I mean, this song's didn't bother me as much as the last song. Does he sing, or is this a sample of the vocal?
Well, I mean, you can put some huge air quotes around that sing, but yes, that is him.
Yeah, is he doing the vocal track on this, I wonder?
He does sing. I think that's him, and I do think it's also the first time that you hear his voice on the record, and it was also, I immediately felt like, okay, now I see why he has all these gospel samples.
Right.
Yeah, he does not have a very compelling voice.
No.
I mean, I kind of like the little piano lines that are going on in the background of this one. I mean, it's not Keith Jarrett or anything like that, but they're like ghostly produced and they seem kind of cool. But again, you get to 2 minutes and 55 seconds into this song and it kind of fades out. And I'm like, yeah, that was maybe a little long, but okay, I can accept that. And then like,
yeah, that's kind of where I'm at.
Oh no, there's another fucking 2.5 minutes of this song left. What the fuck, man?
Well, this is the most probably popular song on the record, or the most
used
out there in the air. Like, this is the one I didn't know this was Moby, or I didn't even know that I knew this, but when I heard it, I was like, oh yeah. I've heard this a million times. I think the piano riff is kind of cool. It has a little bit of character to the song, but ultimately it's kind of peters out.
What's funny is the only song that I knew from this album was that song Southside. That was like the only song that I was familiar with. When I heard that, I was like, oh, that's Moby. Oh, okay, yeah.
Which I actually think that's a good song.
That's not a bad song. It's really not a bad song. But if I'm being honest, the only reason that I knew Moby at all was because of that Eminem song where he says, he like makes fun of Moby.
Right. Nobody listens to techno. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you're too old, let go, it's over. Nobody listens to techno. Like, yeah, you know.
Well, that song too, that was another example of, I know that's not on our list, but he put that song on this record with him singing it, which sounds pretty weak.
Wait. So he recorded the Eminem song?
No, sorry. The song South Side that has Gwen Stefani on it.
Oh. Was that an unsolicited attack at Moby, or was there other?
Oh, yeah, it was very much an unsolicited attack on Moby.
Okay, he was just like going for him.
They're not friends, yeah.
But I mean, it had nothing to do with like some other sort of like shit talking that happened that Moby started.
I did see an interview. I don't know if my ordering is correct here, but Moby claims that the reason Eminem hates him is because Eminem thought Moby was gay. And then in an interview, someone was asking him about Eminem, like, why does Eminem hate you? And he said something to the effect of, I don't know, maybe he thinks I'm hot or something, maybe he thinks I'm cute. But it was totally like,
gotcha,
making a joke about it.
And then Eminem goes overboard and like, I'm going to murder your family. Okay.
Frankly, good on Moby for that. Like, yeah.
I don't think Eminem needs much to be highly triggered, it sounds like.
All right, we're going to move this party along to the next track on our focus list. This one is called Body Rock.
The most Prodigy-like song on the album.
Dude, if I want to listen to watered down Rage Against the Machine riffs, I'll go to a Guitar Center on a Saturday afternoon.
That's the tweet. That's the backup tweet.
Where's the hot bass on this song? If any song on this album was crying out for hot bass, what the fuck? Hire a bass player. I guarantee you we are not that expensive, you cheap fuck.
You're in New York City, right? You could find somebody who'll do it for $10.
Like, hey, give me something slappy that goes up and down a scale, and that really would have tied the song together.
No, you know what this song needs even more than that is an actual guitar player, because this song is so dumb. The Rage Against the Machine riffs are so weak. But not only that, there's a point like 3/4 of the way through the song where almost everything drops out and you're expecting a guitar solo because he starts to play. And it is, I challenge you to listen to this and not laugh your ass off. It is the weakest little wah-wah guitar. He's super behind the beat, which is probably on purpose. It's like 30 seconds of wankery on guitar that is laughable.
Wow. I describe this as like, it's the, oh yeah, sure, I can play the guitar kind of guitar player. It's like if somebody's like, can you play the guitar? I'm like, yeah, sure, I can play the guitar. But like, that's what you're going to get. Right. You're going to get
technically
absolutely bullshit.
I can make
nothing.
notes.
Yes.
Yeah. And I know you're recording this in your apartment, but you know a guitar player that can play better than this. Like, you can get Gwen Stefani on one of your songs and you can't get a guitar player to play on this.
Seriously.
The thing that pissed me off the most is that this is like, yeah, dance, rock your body, shake your booty. This is so not danceable at all. There's like nothing dancey about it.
Yeah. I'll agree with all that.
There's a worse song coming up that we're going to talk about, but this was just so, it felt like a warmed over Beastie Boys song mixed with weak Rage riffs. This one to me felt the most, among the most contrived, and this doesn't even have any of the gospel samples on it.
You know what? When I hear this, I feel like it should be like the weight screen in like a racing video game. And that's because it was in Gran Turismo 2.
By the way, the ghost of Adam Yao is now going to fucking haunt you forever by comparing this to a Beastie Boys song, Alan.
No, I'm not favorably. Like, it sounds like it's trying to be one of those Beastie Boys songs where they're like a gratitude or something where they're playing their instruments, but it at least it feels organic. I don't know. This one just galled me for some reason maybe it's an overreaction, but
The reason is because this sucks.
All right, Tom, you mentioned formulas. Let's move right along in our own formula to the next song on our focus list, which
Family of Vera Hall got to build a fucking mansion based upon the royalties to this song, because this song is just her song. It's just her song. He didn't do anything to it. It's just her song.
Yeah, I mean, beyond, there's a little kind of breakout around 2 minutes and 10 seconds that offers just a wee bit of
something different.
Yeah, but again, it's copy and paste comments from the first track we talked about. It's the same fucking thing.
I do think that he gave money to the families. Most of them that were involved in this, it seems like there were some that were not credited, but I do get the sense that he gave money. But he also, after this album, he literally bought a castle in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
Like, I shit you not, he bought a fucking castle.
The vibe I got from him in the memoir and the documentary, he doesn't seem, of course it's going to be self-serving because he wrote both of them, but he doesn't seem like the type of person that's real money, power hungry. Again, maybe it's all an act. So, Alan, to your point, I'm digging now. I can't find anything that quotes anything that was given to the Vera Hall's estate.
Yeah, I don't think it's like he's greedy or anything like that. I think it's more just incongruous. And the way he grew up, I won't begrudge him wanting to live it up a little bit. But I will say, even though he does seem highly insufferable and he seems like a very terrible hang, he does seem to be very charitable with a lot of his money. I think he gives away all of his music for free licensing, as long as you don't use it for right wing. Yeah, no right wing causes, no cigarettes, and nothing about meat or dairy, which is weird. So who knows? But this song is entirely off the back of something else. But to Marty's point, this was one of the only songs where there's at least some kind of tonal shift, something that's a little bit different than just the Death March.
Well, I was listening to, because I listened to the original Vera Hall song that this is based off of, Trouble So Hard, which is an amazing song because it's just an a cappella song of her. And her voice got tons of pathos. It sounds great, but it's like a minute and 40 seconds. And then I saw that this song was significantly longer than that. And I was like, oh, like he must have stretched it out. And what you're talking about is like, basically after the second verse, he just puts in 30 to 45 seconds of him fucking around in the synth, and it comes right back into her just singing the song again.
Oh, it's a low bar.
It's a very low bar.
He sets a low bar of expectation for sure.
I like at the beginning of the song, I was like, oh, there's actually a bass. We're gonna get some bass. And I was like, oh, so it sucks. Okay, yeah, nope. It's a terrible bass line. It's obviously you playing it, and it sounds like shit, and you have produced it in a way where it's all like high up sounding and tinny and trebly and fucking terrible.
He doesn't know what he's doing with bass.
No, not at all.
I will say again though, I'm trying to be a little bit measured here, but this is a very good use of that sample, even though it's appropriated and all that shit is true. There is something in identifying the sample, selecting it, figuring out how to use it. I do think this works, and I think it's memorable as an idea. Right. Mm-hmm. But again, it's another one of those songs where the sample part starts on literal beat one.
Yeah.
There's you don't let it like cook at all. And it gives off the feeling of like, you don't trust your own shit enough that you have to like establish immediately this like hook that you found. It feels almost like insecure in a way.
But like, it's only memorable because he's literally playing just another person's song in its entirety.
Yeah, right.
That's why it's memorable, is because that song is actually a good song. Yeah.
It's simple. It's good.
Well, but to be fair, the general public would probably not find it that good out of the context that he puts it in. So I agree with what you're saying, but like, I don't want to completely discount that he packaged it in a way that would be like palatable to a modern audience.
Talking about like a very high bar there either. It's
like I'm trying here. I'm trying to do my Rob role here of
fair enough.
All right, we're going to move on to our last song on the focus list. This song was actually featured in an Arby's commercial. I'm kidding. It was
It would have been called My Ass Is Broken.
it was a Longhorn Steakhouse commercial. No, this is called The Sky Is Broken.
See, the storm is broken in the middle of the night. Nothing left here for me. It's washed away. The rain pushes the buildings aside. The sky turns black. The sky. Wash it far. Push it out to sea. There's nothing left here for me. I watch it lift up to the sky.
I mean, at least songs is a little different, though. You know,
This song is a huge piece of shit. This song sucks so bad.
Do you guys remember when we hit our 50th episode back in the day and we did that list of like the best and worst songs that we had covered so far on the show?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
If we did that one again, this would easily be on the list among the worst songs. This is... There's no aspect of the song that's good. I'm sorry.
Yeah, like I'm really glad we got a 4-minute spoken word song of your absolutely shit fucking. We haven't touched on how bad his lyric writing is when he actually writes the lyrics.
It's pretty bad.
The song South Side. All right. This is the first 2 lines of the second chorus, the second verse. He says, "Here we are in the pouring home. I watched the light man fall the comb." That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't sound cool. It's so fucking bad.
You're not capable of nuance, Tom.
But was Gwen Stefani saying it? Because if so, maybe it was hot. I don't know.
Again, I can understand why he is just outsourcing all of the lyric writing and singing to other people who are much better at it. There's one thing that I like in the song. Exactly one thing. It's at 1:50 seconds, 1:57 seconds. And you can literally hear him turn the page on his notebook as he is spouting lyrics off.
Totally.
Attention to detail. Jesus.
I actually kind of like it.
What is that noise?
I kind of like
It's
it.
paper.
Like black night. So speak to me like the winds outside.
Maybe he should have made this song just all turning pages. It's like, then you would have loved it.
It's like an Andy Kaufman bit.
I was just like, in this like very digital product that you're giving us, it's this super analog thing of like I have to turn a page in my notebook to get to the next lyrics. So I liked that, but otherwise this song fucking sucked.
Speaking of analog, Marty, I'm kind of shocked that you didn't call out the horrendous drumming on this song. Like, every band has that guy who, and usually it's me, so I'm aware of it, but every band has a guy who's not the drummer that when it's time for a smoke break, he'll like sit down on the kit and just
Oh yeah, it sounds like that.
and just tool around on like a busted ass like drum fill. That's exactly what this drum. It sounds like the other guy who can't play drums sat down during a cigarette break and just started trying to pump out the only beat he knew on drums.
I've been negative about every single aspect of this album. I just needed one thing to try to grab onto.
Well, if it's not there, it's not there.
Frankly, what song I actually kind of liked? It's that song 7, which is 1:02 long, and it's just like weird random noises. Like that's the song I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Actually,
It's at least different.
Yeah,
That's why you liked it, was because it was a minute long.
yeah. Well, yeah, that's part of it.
All right, gents, we are going to wrap it up here. So what we do next on the podcast is we throw it around the room to get those ever important votes as to whether or not you actually need to hear this album before you die. I'm going to throw it over to Alan first.
I'm going to say no on this one. I think there are some things I like about it. I do like the story. I love the idea of a DIY record that you don't think anyone's going to listen to, that you make yourself. I do think there's a few good songs. It probably did introduce a lot of people to this kind of music that hadn't heard it before. And I don't have a problem at all with the selling out or the commercialization. but I just think it's a weak album when I look at it objectively, and so I have to say no.
All right, that's a no from Alan. We are going to throw it over to Marty next.
So like when I go through this process, my first kind of step is like, do I actually like this album? And if that answer is a no, the next step I go to is like, I'm going to try to imagine myself being where I am now at the time this album came out. And does that change my opinion about this album? In this case, that's also a no. And then I put myself in the position of maybe the person that made this album. If I made this album, would I like it and be proud of it and stand by it? And again, that answer is no.
The Marty doctrine.
Those are the three steps.
It's a good heuristic.
Yeah, so 3 strikes, you're out. I'm a no.
All right, it's a no from Marty.
If I made it, I wouldn't even like it. I think that's a solid no.
All right, Tom. It's leaning one way. What do you got?
All right. In the spirit of Moby, Adam, is there any way that you can drop in a clip of a much more talented old black guy saying, fuck no?
Well, there's that one song, the hell no to the no, no.
All right, that's a no. It's a quick no from Tom. Man, this was a tough one. Usually the person doing the research does fall in love a bit with the artist and album because we live with it so deeply for over a week. In this case, man, I liked Moby more than I did before I started this, but this is background music. I can't, in good conscience, say that you have to hear this before you die. It's cool, but that is about as far as it goes. I appreciate that it introduced millions of people to a new genre that they wouldn't have heard otherwise, but again, I just don't think it reaches that level of critical. So that's a no. 0 for 4 for Moby's play. I assume we're going to get the same hate that we got for Prodigy.
I'm proud of you, Adam.
You know what? UK, come in or fucking slide into our DMs and try to
Argue
defend
this one out.
I'm going to be very interested to hear.
All right, there you have it, folks. It's a no. Now, like I mentioned, we've got a listener poll up right now over on our Patreon. So head over there, chime in, tell us why we're wrong, tell us why we're right, tell us why Moby changed your life, tell us why you think being a vegan is great or how much you love steak. Now, our co-host Rob usually has the mailbag, but he's getting a much-deserved week off, and he has sent it to me via FedEx. I assume FedEx is one of those companies that also licensed a song from Play. Hey, you know what? Maybe we should license a song for this segment to run in the background. I wonder what he's charging nowadays. But anyway, so I've got the mailbag here. I'm going to reach my hand in and pull out a missive from one of our listeners. First up, we have Steve from Delray Beach, Florida. He writes, "Greeting my fellow music nerds. Just finished the Tom Petty episode. I can't believe American Girl was not a smash hit at the time it was released. However, my first memory of American Girl is from the movie Fast Times at Ridgemont High. By the way, an aside here he has, several other listeners pointed out that the song also had a 90s movie moment because it was played in Silence of the Lambs when Buffalo Bill is about to kidnap the senator's daughter. Now, Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers were also the backing band for Johnny Cash on Unchained Volume 2 of the American Recordings. Makes listening to the album even better knowing who the backing band is. Anyway, love you guys. Keep up the good work. Boosh." Nice. Thank you, Steve from Delray. Now, I wasn't on the Tom Petty episode, but I kind of wish I had been.
You'd been right there with that Silence of the Lambs. Because I think we even said, like, wasn't it in some movie or something?
Right.
And, like, that's on me. I've seen Silence of the Lambs like 15 times. I should have fucking been on that. Sorry, listeners. I will flagellate myself after the show.
Here's a question, Adam. When you were playing with your band, how many times do you think you played American Girl? Because I feel like that is like a cover band staple because it's a great song.
Up there with Sweet Home Alabama. So whatever, 5,000 times or something, something ridiculous.
It's a good one. It's a good one.
All of you on this show will appreciate this anecdote. I was walking down Main Street of Newark, Delaware with Phil, and we're walking up to the deer park, and I was like, "That's Mike D on the drums." And all we could hear was the snare. We could just hear the snare.
Unmistakable.
And I was like, "That's Mike D." And we walked in, and they were doing American Girl, and it was just like, it was like, oh, that's fucking Mike D. It was like a gunshot. You could hear it from like down the street. Like, oh, that's Mike D.
That was awesome.
And we walked in, yes, Mike D was playing American Girl.
Rim
And I was like,
shots.
oh my God.
He committed battery on those snare drums.
We should have known with the amount that he was going through sticks as they were just flying. I was like, this guy's going to rock.
Yeah.
All right, our next up, we've got listener Andy who writes, "Hi, guys. My wife found your podcast." What? Sorry, let me make sure I read that correctly.
There
My wife found your podcast. All right, well, I guess our marketing has been working. And I've been listening for the last 6 months or so, managing to get about halfway.
She hasn't, though, by the way. Just him. Just the wife stopped listening immediately.
First of all, great job. I really enjoy the discussions. You guys are very knowledgeable about a lot of the music theory that I don't know much about. You guys are also very ignorant of the genres that you don't listen to, which can be equally entertaining. All in all, you sound like if my friends and I had picked up instruments in high school and started a podcast. Probably helps that we're the exact same demographic, born in 81. And from New Jersey, so only a few hours from us.
You had me until New Jersey.
The armpit of America.
Of America! Yes! That was not planned, folks. So he goes on, "I finally have something to write in about, though. I had just finished the Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young Deja Vu episode and was listening to the album again, and I thought how you guys, especially Phil, frequently talk about hard-panned instruments negatively. I think some of the issue there is that you guys must be listening on headphones instead of speakers. I agree that hard panning can sound bizarre, sometimes even uncomfortable, when heard through good headphones. When listening, though, on a good hi-fi system with well-placed speakers, hard panning sounds great. It makes for a nice wide sound stage, like the piano is on the left side of the stage, guitar on the right, drums and vocals in the center. You can hear the left channel in the right ear after it has bounced off the room and vice versa, which makes it sound way more pleasant. I'd recommend investing a little time in setting up a space where you can have speakers placed so you can get that stereo magic and re-listen to some of these albums. Also, good job, Rob. You were the one who was correct most often." I think Rob wrote this.
Rob definitely gave you that email.
Wait, so is there a universal hatred for hard panning in all instances? Is that what's going on?
It's very jarring.
Not in all instances. I think what it comes down to is sometimes it can be very disconcerting, especially when it is not done in an intelligent way. And it'll be like, you know, drums and bass on one side and then both guitars on the other side. And you're like, well, separate the guitars out. If you're going to separate two instruments out, separate the guitars, you know?
I kind of like when, you know, if I'm listening with headphones to like Pink Floyd or something and just hear like a drum beat in one ear. It does something.
Yeah, listen, I don't think any of us talked about Pink Floyd's panning.
I think there are some instances when he makes a good point here. Loudspeakers are a more enjoyable and probably better listening experience than headphones or in-ear monitors or something like that. Moby, for example, like when I put this through my good speakers, you're right, there wasn't a ton of low end, but he's got like an 808 on the kick drum, so you would feel that versus sometimes in your ears, it's just like a tick, tick, tick. Anyway, so, all right, so but maybe you're half right there, Andy, but thank you for writing in. We appreciate it. Don't forget that if you have anything, any little nuances that annoy you about music or about us or something you want to chime in with, you can send us an email to 1001albumcomplaints@gmail.com and we'll do our best to read it on the air. Now, last thing we got to do, thank you first off for hanging around to the bitter end here, but the last thing we got to do is get our homework assignment for next week, and I'm going to throw it over to Tom, who's got his hand on that Albinator.
Well, you know, the Albinator actually is on vacation because we don't need it this week. I have sent it away because, as you all will remember, we did a contest wherein if you supported us and bought a copy of Stay Puft, you could be entered into a drawing to potentially choose the album that we were going to cover and even appear on the show. And so next week will be the first in our three-part series, not sequential three-part series, but first in a three-part series of albums that were picked by listeners that will have a listener guest appear. And listener Stan has won our contest and has chosen to pick the Public Enemy album Fear of a Black Planet for next week.
All right.
So we are going to be getting into it. Hell fucking Yeah.
Does Amy Poehler ever have her fans on her show? I doubt it.
No.
Coming on to discuss Public Enemy.
And if there's anybody who is absolutely qualified to talk about the Public Enemy album, Fear of a Black Planet, it is us, middle-aged white guys from the East Coast. Absolutely.
That is awesome.
Better than middle-aged guys from the Midwest, I guess.
Well, we'll see where Stan is from. Who knows? All right, so we're looking forward to that. Our homework assignment, everybody join us, is Public Enemy's 1990 album, Fear of a Black Planet.
1989, The Number, Another Summer, Sound of the Funky Drummer. Come on, get into it, man.
Are you surprised? All right, look, that's gonna do it for us today. We want to thank you all for hanging out with us. And on behalf of the crew here at 1001 Album Complaints, I'm Adam.
I'm Marty.
I'm Alan.
And I'm Tom.
Boosh!